Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. My name is Patrick Martin with Lingaro. I'm a business development manager, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Abhishek Singh from MetLife. He is the Global Head of Business Analytics and Head of Data Analytics for MetLife's Latin American business. Very nice to meet you. It's going to be a great conversation. Enjoyed talking to you in preparation for this. But Abhishek, you have a very impressive background, a lot of success in multiple areas and industries. You've held data and analytics leadership positions with major corporations such as McKinsey and Company, and now MetLife. How have your deep experiences prepared you for your current role at MetLife?
Yeah, hey Patrick, nice to meet you as well. And once again, thanks for giving me the opportunity to have this conversation. And like you mentioned, my role here is at the intersection of business, data, and analytics. And at MetLife, I've been fortunate to get us going on an overall transformation journey, right, in this last 2 to 3 years. And the way I kind of think about it is I've been in this space for over 16 years now, and actually fortunate to have seen this digital revolution play out across industries. So while I work in insurance right now, in my past life, like you mentioned, in consulting, I had the opportunity to see various industries, be it healthcare, pharmaceuticals, financial services, CPG retail, all coming to terms with this new normal, right, where data is going to be a key enabler for how businesses run their decision-making process, where analytics is going to be an accelerator on how we more deeply engage our customers in more and more personalized ways. And in all of those, right, what I've really followed is a very simple, I call it like winning the 5-set marathon, right? So I play a little bit of tennis, so I kind of contextualized it to like, if you're playing a 5-setter, right? And the 5 sets really being problem set, right? So what are the problems you're solving for? Are they tied to the business imperatives? Is there value in solving those problems? The data set, so for that problem, what type of data do you need? Is data available internal, external? Does it need to be created? There's this concept of a data triangle that's kind of helped me think through that view. The tool set, right? So what types of tools do you need to work with? Cloud, on-prem, open source, closed source, off the shelf, Python. Like now, it just kind of helps you frame the toolkit that you need to have. The skill set, right, which is, I think, a critical one for companies like ourselves, right, where we believe data analytics is a core capability. So you want to have the right skill set within my team, my stakeholder base, my employee base, so that there is that focus on continuous learning and training. So that's key. And then the last one being mindset, right? And what's the mindset of the organization? Do we have that top-down buy-in? Do people believe in the power of data analytics? Am I ready for the last mile adoption, right? Because I think it's easiest now to build a data model or build a predictive engine. But what's really challenging is how can I take my sales guy, my underwriting guy, my claims operator to actually use these powerful assets in how they drive change in the way businesses are run. So that kind of 5-set approach has been a great, I would say, toolkit that I kind of carry around as I think through what I need to build out here at MetLife, and for that matter, any businesses that I've kind of interacted with over the years.
So your role at MetLife is a transformational position, which transformational gets thrown around a lot and means different things to different people. What does it mean to you and your team at MetLife, and how do you evangelize and affect data-driven change?
Yeah,
that transformation.
Transformation is a big word, right? I think very simply put, for me, it's a lot about what you do and how you do it, right? And both those components need to be impacted when you're trying to drive a transformation. And then transformation has to be in context of a capability that you're trying to build or improve or like now change. So, and capability also has three tenets, right? It's the expertise that you're trying to build, the process around it, right? So the ways of working, how that capability comes to life, and then the capacity thereof, right? That is needed to make it more, commonplace across the enterprise. So if you kind of juxtapose that, right, to say, I'm going to build a capability around expertise and process and capacity, and then I'm going to do that both in terms of the what, right, and how, I think it starts to give you a very simple 2 by 3 grid, right, like that you can then start to think how you move the needle forward, right? So for example, we were, when I came in, right, we saw that there was very little work that we were doing internally as data science was concerned, right? A lot of it was partner-led, partner-driven. But then there was desire within the leadership to say, you know what, we need to take control of this, and we need to really monetize this capability. And one of the things that I kind of stood up for us in the last 2 years is our Global Analytics and Research Center in India, right, where I have now over 40 plus associates or data scientists working on problems across the globe. But doing that required a level of buy-in to very clearly explain to our leadership on what is the skill set and capability that we look to build. What am I going to change in the way I operate, right? The fact that I'll have more ownership on the problem, on the solution space. And once you start to explain that, right, as part of the transformation agenda, I think you can see people kind of come along the journey with you. So it's really important, right? And that's what I tell my team also is everybody wants to learn. It's the process and how we are kind of bringing them along the change journey that matters, right? If I'm going to do that with authority and with some sort of a diktat, I don't think that's going to be lasting transformation. I could do that for the time I'm in a position of vantage, but that doesn't then cease, that's not persistent and sustainable. I think sustainable change happens or transformation happens when everybody kind of sees that common vision and sees what's in it for them as they come along for that journey, right? And it's painful. It's not easy. I'll be the first to say, I was in a startup, and building a 200-member team in that startup was an order of magnitude easy than to set up this 40 people data science team within an enterprise like MetLife. But that's the excitement, and that's the fulfillment when you actually make that transformation happen. It's very rewarding, and then you can see the change, right? You can see how people suddenly the way we do things, how we interact between business and technology and data analytics. All of that starts to kind of come together pretty neatly.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you share any information on how you are leveraging and deploying advanced analytics such as machine learning and AI?
Yeah, machine learning and AI. I have to tell you a funny story here, though. I've had clients, in the past life, right? I've had senior leaders come to me and say, Abhishek, you know what? I want to do an AI project. That's the problem statement. I want to do an AI project. And I'm like, you know what? That is not a problem statement. You do not do an AI or ML project. But such has been the press around this that now you just I think leaders feel pressurized that they need to have an AI ML use case in their portfolio. But the way I think about it is very simply through a problem lens, right? And I'll give you an example, right? Going from point A to point B, right? So I want to go from New York to Boston, right? Dial back 200 years, right? That was a problem which was fuzzy and very unclear to human beings. We didn't know what to do. How do we traverse there, right? Something that was a little unknown. We knew maybe we have to go east because the sun rises in the east, and we kind of figured out and meandered and we'll get there, right? Stumble through our way. Then we kind of as we did that more and more, we realized that, okay, there can be an algorithm. We can take there's a roadways were built, there were trains built, and we said, okay, now let me follow that, right? And then Google Maps happened and Apple Maps happened. And we said, you know what, we'll just systematize the whole thing. We know exactly how to go from point A to point B. It's all mapped out. And when I think about AI ML, right, for me, the power of that is for problems which are in that stage where I don't know enough about it. I've got information. I know sun rises in the east, Boston's probably now to the north. There are rivers in between that I need to cross, but I don't exactly know how they all fit together. And AI ML is a great technique to algorithmify that heuristic knowledge that I have. So that would be kind of where I'd start to use a lot of AI and machine learning. But then there are problems where I have mapped it out. I know exactly, I've got adjusters or underwriters working for the past so many years underwriting policies. So I know that there is a human judgment involved. I know what information they look at. I can use AI to then encapsulate that natural intelligence into a code block and say, you know what, let me systematize this learning, which my underwriters or my actuarials or my claims operators have developed over a period of time.
Right.
And that's how we've used AI/ML, right? So now auto underwriting is a great example. Fraud, waste, abuse identification is another great example. Agency hiring, right? How do we hire, train, and deploy agents and maximize their productivity? These are all great examples which traditionally, if you think about it, have been more human-led. Now there's a lot of heuristics involved. There's a lot of, now you ask me how I do it. I don't know how I do it, but I do it and I do it pretty well, right? That's what AI ML kind of helps you really like box in and make it more understandable, and those are some of the powerful use cases that we've seen bring a lot of value here. Another example I would say is on the pharma side, right? When I was in consulting around physician targeting and Salesforce effectiveness, right? Where like which rep goes and calls to which doctor at what time based on what products, right? A lot of that now AI ML can play a great role in making that very personalized, right? And if you think back 10 years when I started a lot of work in the pharma space, the typical segmentation was quintiles and deciles based on values, right? So you take all your physician universe, you decile them, and you go, okay, the top decile gets the most number of calls. But you can now get to an N of one segmentation because we know so much about the physicians, and you know which reps kind of marry up most effectively with which types of physicians. You can actually go and create call plans that are very tailored to what the physician or the hospital chain or the medical professional needs, and you can make your agents that much more effective, right? With the same investment going that much further in trying to be effective. So that's how we kind of think about AI ML, right? It has to be thought about in context of the problem that you're looking to solve and how well or not so well you understand that problem space, and each has its own applications. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Very good. You touched on this earlier. What has been the biggest challenge that you've encountered on your transformation journey? Is it the people, process, or technology?
Yeah, I think it's probably all of the three. But if you were to ask me for the biggest one, I think that'll definitely be the people side of things, right? And it's because as much as we may think that we are, say, trying to build a technology or a data analytics solution, what you're really trying to do at the end of the day is going to impact an individual or a group of individuals. And it's really important that whether it's your customer, your business partner, or for that matter, your own team, you're able to engage with them and help them understand what's in it for them, right? What types of changes they would start to see as you basically deploy a particular solution in the market. And then to do that, right, one of the things that I think has worked well for me is any solution that we are looking to put out there, before we actually even start developing it, I try to build what I call like as a stakeholder map, right, or like my customer map. And you want to understand who are the players who are going to be involved, right? So for example, if you're building an underwriting solution, right? You've got to have your products team, your pricing team, your actuarials, your sales guys who are eventually going to take that output and work with, and then eventually your customers, right? How they are going to see something change as that solution comes into the market. So having that map built out and then understand that we need to have conversations and communications with each one of those partners through that process of the solution development and deployment also becomes key, because if that doesn't happen, I think your adoption suffers in a big way, and that's why we see headlines like 85% of AI ML initiatives fail to drive change or fail at the last mile, right? Is because I think we get so immersed because we're so passionate about the technology and the data and the math behind things that we tend to forget that at the end of the day it's people who are going to use it, and you need to make them feel involved and ingrained in that transformation or that solution development journey. So that I think for me has been the biggest challenge, and I'll say it's also been the biggest reward, right? When you get it right, there's nothing better than that. When you see you're not the only champion trying to drive an agenda or a capability, but there are partners who are actually raising their hand and saying, yeah, this thing works and I want to use it. So you get that right. I think the process and the technology pretty much follow it. I think those are much easier to kind of get right if you have the people side of the house or the equation kind of taken care of.
Very good. So return on investment is a critical success factor for every initiative, every project. How do you quantify value and attribute success to efforts that may not have a direct impact on the bottom line?
Yeah, so, and I think that's been kind of a holy grail as we think about data analytics. For that matter, any new capability you're trying to build, right? Like, what's the ROI? That's the typical question that you'd be asked. And I'm a firm believer that attributing a pure value to a data analytics initiative to a top line or bottom line impact is an academic exercise, because data analytics solutions are but one of the many enablers or factors that come together to drive a business outcome. So anybody who kind of pontificates on, hey, I can tell you truly attributable value of an AI model or a data hub that you build out, I think has not seen reality or has not really experienced what it takes to build something in real, right? It's an academic concept, but that doesn't mean that you are off the hook to talk about value in construct of what you're trying to do. And what we've done is we've actually built a pretty deliberate framework here around value mapping. We've got something that I call like our impact hub, right? So anytime a use case comes through, right, what we try and do is we build a value tree around it to say, okay, if I were to solve this distribution use case, or if I were to solve this pricing use case, what would be my path to value, right? And that path to value would traverse through data analytics solutions, would traverse through sales and training initiatives, would not traverse through what now my product and pricing teams do. But putting that map out there makes it very clear that we are, as data analytics, a core pillar or a core node in that value realization. And then what you do is you change the conversation as no much as saying data analytics drove X million dollars of impact, but you say we enabled the business to drive X or Y million dollars of impact. Now, when you frame it like that, the ROI question becomes, I would say, really irrelevant, because when you think about companies of our size, right, the impact is in the tens of millions of dollars, right? Sure. If I were to get my fraud, waste, abuse models right, I could be saving claim payouts in the ratio in the tune of $200-300 million. The investment to make that, maybe a couple of $1 million, right, in terms of the data and the data scientists and that teams. So your ROI question, I think, immediately goes out the window when you frame it in terms of, yeah, we will come together with our fraud, waste, abuse teams, with our claims operations team, with our product SIU teams to build a model, but the impact thereof, now given the size and scale of our business, is of an order of magnitude higher. And the other, on the flip side, I think one other way at least I have made successfully some of the arguments is the cost of doing nothing, right? So if I did not do this, right, and if I did not build a model, and we see thousands of claims coming in a day, do we have the capacity to actually evaluate all of those? Goes back to the same problem I was talking about, like the AI ML solutions help you algorithmify and systematize these capabilities so that the jobs of the adjusters becomes easier, right? And then I think if the former doesn't work, this argument of the fact that if you don't do it, there's so much of opportunity at the table, that kind of will probably go to waste, oftentimes works. And that helps in driving that value conversation. And lastly, I would say we should not burden ourselves to be precise on the value math to begin with, right? I think that also follows a continuum. And I impress upon my teams is, let's have a aspirational value associated with every problem discussion that we have. But then as we work through POCs and pilots and actually deploy, that aspirational value should traverse a journey of estimated, forecasted, and realized value. So that's the value realization journey that we need to be on with our partners. It's okay to put a swag out there so that you understand the scale, whether you're looking at hundreds of thousands or tens of millions. But then whether it's a 50 million number or a 75 or a 100, that can happen as we work through that particular use case. And I think 9 or 10 times you'll see people would understand and appreciate that, because what we do is often ambiguous and not very, very well defined in the problems that we tackle.
Very well put. Appreciate that. Switching gears just a bit, as a leader, you realize that you're only as good as the success of your team, and having the right team is paramount to success. What is your secret to recruiting and, even more important, retaining top talent? And how does your management style lend itself to building a strong team?
Yeah, I call the data scientists and data engineers the diva professionals of our generation, right? Like, they are so much in demand, right? You're spot on. Hiring is probably easier. Retaining is the biggest challenge. And especially and I kind of have experience seeing that firsthand with this team I have here in the US and the India setup that I spoke about, where in markets like India or Latin America, it's what I'll call like wild east, right? There's just so much demand for this type of talent and so little supply, right? Or quality supply, that you're always jostling to make sure that associates stay interested. And one of the things that I have realized is now after you take out the extrinsics of comps and incentives, and you kind of would be at parity, and you kind of do that on what's needed. What really keeps this group of individuals interested is the nature of work, right? And the ownership of that work, right? Those are two things I think critical. Impress upon that the quality of work it's not just about, hey, I want to build cool predictive models. I think there is enough excitement in building a powerful visualization and dashboard that packs in a lot of insights about the business. But a lot of these 24, 25, 30-year-olds that you kind of come through the door as data scientists, they, I think, have been really set up to say, if you're not building a gradient boosting model, you're not doing data science. And that's one of the first things I kind of educate them on is, guys, it's all about the insights. It's not about the how, it's about the so what and the now what that you as data scientists are trying to drive. And the moment they make that connection, right, that what they do eventually moves the needle from a top line, bottom line perspective, I think you see a switch flip as far as their involvement with the business of what you're trying to do is concerned. So that I think is a key part. And then the ownership, right? So these guys are just bright bulbs. So they do not want to be taking orders from anyone. Like they have to feel that they're as much at the seat defining and designing the solution space as they are building it. So making sure that that setup is provided, right, to these guys to say, you own the solution with a partner, right? So it's all an integrated team, but you're as much have seat at the table as anybody else in the partner organization has also been key. And then from a leadership style, I think now as far as the team's concerned, it's a lot about, I think I know 3 or 4 things that I tell my team, right? Transparency, right? So let's be completely open with each other on what we are doing, our struggles, our vulnerabilities, and or where we see gaps, and then seek each other's help out, right? Like there should be no shame in saying I don't know something. So I don't know is a very, very acceptable answer. So that's something that I do impress upon. Bad news travels fast, so we should be the first to kind of relay it, right? I don't want news to be coming from different people. Like if we see something going south, let's raise hand, because there would be somebody in the organization who would help us address that. So again, seek out and then take help. So the pressure should, you should not get weighed down by what you have to do. You've got to try and enjoy this as a professional and try to keep it as collegial as possible, because again, this is very young talent, right? That you typically would have in your data and analytics organization. So you want them to feel that they are still part of a community, you're still part of some sort of a tribe or a group of friends, and if you can make that environment, you can create that environment. I think there's a lot more relatability, and people they don't want them to be too pressurized by what you're trying to do. So those would be 2 or 3 things that I think has helped kind of build teams over the years.
Definitely will build trust, and
yeah,
and that trust, I mean, that's invaluable. So that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Well, I have one last question. Imagine you're mentoring a less experienced rising star who aspires to be the head of analytics at some point. What advice would you give them that you've learned along your journey that might be able to help them shortcut?
I don't think there's any shortcut, by the way. I really believe there is no shortcut in life. But I've been fortunate, I think, to have great managers and leaders that I've gotten to work with as I grew up the ranks. And something that I think, fortunately for me, worked or I was provided that environment was to continuously learn and have no fear of failure, right? I think oftentimes you put too much pressure on ourselves to getting things right the first time, and that just limits us from trying new things, exploring new solutions or capabilities, engaging with newer types of individuals. And my 2 cents to anybody who's looking to build a career in this space would be to not limit yourself and stay as curious and as learning oriented as you possibly can be. So that's what I think would be the first one. I think that's key. And then the second piece would be more around have a business oriented mindset, right? When you build these capabilities, right? It's too easy to get caught up in the shininess of big data, AI, ML. There's a new toy out there every day, right? And you could be like a kid in a candy store if you choose to. But then what that does is it distracts you from the value that these shiny toys can bring to your enterprise, to your society, to your ecosystem in which you operate. So be greedy about that, about the value that your work generates in terms of impact. I think that orientation, I think, is also pretty critical. Unless you're in the business where you are in the business of building new toys, right? If that's what you're trying to do, then that's great. But if you're in the business of driving value from these toys or these solutions and techniques and capabilities, then impact value orientation would be another key thing to keep in mind.
That's fantastic. I really like that. Don't be afraid to fail and always focus on the business value. I think, wow, very well said. Well, Abhishek, I've very much appreciated the time today. Thank you so much for joining me for this interview. I also want to thank all of the people that are watching. Thank you for joining us. And please feel free to visit the cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Good. No, thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, the CDO team, for giving this opportunity. And yeah, we'll stay in touch.